All right, everybody. Welcome back to another edition of The Teardown. My name is Jeff Gluck. I'm along with my coworker, Jordan Bianchi. We are motorsports writers for The Athletic, and we are here to talk about the Charlotte Roval cutoff elimination race. Jordan is at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I'm at home in Denver, my last one of the year not being at the track. But hope everybody had a good Sunday watching the race. Jordan, how's it going there in Roval land?
It was a Roval race. I don't know if that's good or bad. I guess it depends on your outlook, but it was a Roval race, and the end was very different than I thought, though it certainly was dramatic. The Joey Logano, Tyler Reddick battle for the last transfer spot. I think we all kind of anticipated it was going to be a lot more chaotic, a lot more unpredictable, a lot more of what everybody thought it was going to be, a lot of dive bombs and, guys bouncing off each other late in this race and just kind of adding to it, whether that's good or bad or not, kind of depends on your perspective. But it didn't kind of play out that way, but it certainly played out in a way that was intriguing in how this was going to unfold and whether Logano or Reddick was going to advance.
Yeah. I mean, without the playoff battle for the points part of it for the elimination, the battle for the win itself would not have been super compelling. Kyle Larson had a fantastic drive, dominated the race for the most part. Bell gave him a good battle for it, but it played out pretty straightforward, right? I mean, you had 3 debris cautions, 2 stage breaks, and that was it. So the fears of a chaotic clown show race, at least my fears, were alleviated.
A lot of drivers' fears.
Yeah, I mean, you thought, oh boy, this is going to be, and even when they had the late caution for the Austin Dillon wheel coming off, you're like, oh.
Yeah, that was the moment where I thought, okay, I tweeted it and I said, okay, it's 20, I think it was 20 some laps left. You're like, this is just close enough where everybody's going to be feeling like they're got to go. Desperation's going to set in. And then in turn 7, people are going to start doing some things, and it's just going to set up one caution after another and after another. And it didn't happen.
Yeah, I mean, pleasant surprise. It was a clean green run to the end, and that allowed the Tyler Reddick storyline to play out. Very fascinating, actually, because he comes in and he decides to put on tires, and he restarts 26th, right? And you're like, this is going to be a long way to go. Yeah, he's got tires, but he's got to overcome a 14-point deficit here, really 15, because
with a car that's not 100%.
Yeah, right. He wrecked it himself earlier, wrecked it, pretty hard, was slamming into Denny Hamlin when they were going in turn 7. And you're like, okay, well, let's see what he can do. He starts picking spots off. Logano loses a couple spots, 3 spots total, but Reddick drives from 26th to 11th to make it in by 4 points. And it really wasn't even that close in the final laps. I mean, he got it done fairly quickly, and it was kind of obvious even with 5 to go or whatever, the direction that things were going. So, I mean, ultimately you go, wow, the regular season champion, I think Dustin Albino had tweeted, the regular season champion has never been eliminated in this round. And that is still holds true because, it looked quite dicey for a minute there, and Reddick survives. Ultimately, Jordan, I mean, if you look at the 8 drivers who made it, what do you think of that field?
See, that's what I'm excited about. Like, the Roval was the Roval today, but I'm excited for round 3 because I think you have the best of the best, really. And you have Bell, Hamlin, Larson, Byron. I'd throw in that mix. I'm going to throw Blaney in there. If you want, you could throw Elliott, though. I think those guys that I just mentioned are like the best in the mile and a half this year, really in general. And then you look at these 3 races at Miami, Las Vegas, and Martinsville. All of those guys I mentioned, all do exceptionally well at those tracks. I feel like it's going to be an absolute slugfest, and I am very excited to see how this plays out. And I think it's going to be a round where mistakes are going to be magnified. Any little mistake, because of the excellence of the field, is really going to put you behind the eight ball. And I think it's going to really allow the best of the best drivers and the best teams this season to rise up and showcase themselves in a way. I am really excited for the round 3. And it's not going to be, we're not going to hear a lot of talk about, wild circumstances. Are these tracks fair, or this or that, or whatever? It's like you're going to 3 fairly straightforward tracks. Martinsville's a little questionable sometimes, but fairly straightforward, drivers' tracks. I am so excited for round 3. And I wish I had to research this, but I don't remember a round 3 where I felt like 5, 6 of these guys could win the championship conceivably.
Listen, I mean, I've been pretty consistent on this, right? Like, what I don't like about the playoffs is the way that it's set up. We've talked about these landmines, right? Chris Gabehart, I saw in a video that he had with Matt Weaver after the race, called the first 2 rounds a haunted house. And it's set up for chaos. It's set up to knock the big guys out. It's set up to have the drama of, oh, I can't believe the number 1 seed fell out, all these upsets, right? Well, look who made it at the end to the final 8. It is arguably the 8 best drivers of the year. If you look at Racing Reference, where they keep the season-long point standings, right? In people, see, I knew you were going to do that. But the season-long point standings are on there, okay?
So
the top 8 drivers in the season-long point standings are the top 8 who moved on. Those are the 8. So the 8 drivers who have scored the most points this year, most total points, have all made it to the last 8. Now, if you don't like that stat, if you look on Racing Reference as well, who are the 8 drivers who have gotten the most top 10 finishes this year? Those are also the 8 drivers who have advanced.
That's a better stat.
Okay, well, there you go. So basically what I'm saying is, now, you could argue Bowman, right? Because he's come on late. So you say, well, is Bowman really one of the 8 best all year? I mean, top 10 wise, points wise, he has it because he's had a good playoffs, right? Okay.
So he has the same number of top 10s as Hamlin.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, he has
same number of top 10s,
right?
as Blaney.
And those guys with the top 10 mark, they're 2 ahead of anybody else. So it's like a clear 8. Now, I think Logano is the one driver with multiple wins this season who's been eliminated.
That's correct.
So you don't have all of the drivers with multiple wins, but Logano, for a lot of the year, he was fairly off, or, he wasn't even.
He came on late in the regular season. Yeah.
So, I mean, listen, to me, I have some sort of like comfort in knowing whoever wins out of this group, is it fair to say it's not going to be viewed as a fluke, an out of nowhere upset type of win? It's going to be one of the best guys of the year. Is that fair?
I mean, no offense to Bowman, but I would say 7 of the 8 guys I think this applies to. And I'm looking at it right now. 8 of the top 9 average finishes on the year, 8 of those guys have moved on to this round, which to me is indicative of consistency and running well and finishing well. I don't know. I know what Bowman's done. I look at Bowman's body of work, and he's been great in the playoffs, but his body of work doesn't, to me, is certainly less of those other guys. But I agree with your overall point, which is like, these are the best of the best. I mean, these are at least, at a minimum, the top 7 drivers and teams throughout the course of this season. They're really, to me, I look at the guys that have been eliminated, and I don't look at it. Logano, you could make a case for, but no one, you're like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that this person didn't make it to the next round. Oh my, they got to be so disappointed. Like, wow, that's such a surprise. Like, largely, it's gone kind of as planned.
Listen, you've got Larson. He had two bad races in the first round. He had the opening race. This round, the opening race again, and it could have put him in a bad spot. He ends up surviving, and he ends up winning both elimination races, right? Then you had Hamlin, who we've documented all of his ups and downs and all that kind of stuff, right? He ends up surviving. Reddick, obviously, was in dire straits for a while. One of my final 4 picks from the entire season. He ends up making it. Bell really never had any adversity. Byron didn't really, but they're there as well. And so again, like let's say even one of these other guys, Elliott, Bowman, whatever, if they make it to the championship and they win it, they deserved it because all the best guys are there. So you would have had to beat all the best guys.
It reminds me of 2018 and the conversation you had when Joey Logano won the championship. It was the big three and Joey, right? And the what I felt was like he beat when it mattered the most, he beat the 3 absolute dominant teams. And you look at his numbers, and he had multiple wins that year, and he had really good numbers, but they weren't in the same league as Truex and Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick. But he still was better than when it mattered. And to me, it's somewhat similar a few years ago when Logano won the championship and was like, is he the best? He was the best when it mattered, and he rose up. And I look at this, and Elliott's got an amazing, 11.7 average finish this year, which is really exceptional. And, to Bowman, if I look at Bowman, it's like, if he's going to win this championship, he's going to have to win races. Like, you're not going to, you can't finish in the top 5. You're not going to go top 5 your way to this championship. You're going to have to go win to win. And that's the thing. And that's been the knock on Bowman is, can you win? Can you close out? You have moments where you look good. We'll see. But the other 7, they'll certainly are worthy champions.
Yeah. And again, listen, I'll clutch my pearls all the time about the playoff format and all this stuff. But if you're going to give me the best 8 of the year going head to head over these next 4 races after this, 1 round and a championship, all right, I'm here for it. You know what I mean? So,
and how about the best 8 coming through what they came through to get here? Atlanta, Watkins Glen, Bristol, Kansas, Talladega, and the Roval. Like, that is 6 very challenging, very demanding tracks, unforgiving in some respects, and yet the best of the best still were able to navigate all of the minefields that these last 2 rounds entailed, and they still were able to get here. That to me even adds the impressiveness of what they accomplished.
Well, it's going to sting a little bit still for Joey Logano because he's going to look at this and say, man, I missed it by 4 points.
Mm-hmm.
And I can look at this and I know exactly where those points came from because I fair and square got on a restart at Richmond and I was going to win that race. And a guy completely drove through me and took me out. And had I won that, I would have gotten 5 playoff points that I could have taken with me. And now look what happened. Austin Dillon, you have robbed me. Now, of course, you could maybe find those points somewhere else, Talladega, but he got
but nowhere more pronounced than Richmond.
Right. And so, it sounds like that's probably going to sting for quite a while. Then, by the way, Jordan, I don't think, this had all sunk in. So when Dylan's wheel came off, I tweeted, that, hey, this could be a game-changing type of moment, right? At that point, Logano was up 4 points on Reddick. Reddick, then that's when he decides to pit. Hey, he says, I've got an opportunity. Well, let's pit. Let's lose all our track position, but we'll go on offense here. And as we'll talk about in our decision of the race later, surely that seemed to be the winning move, right? But Logano, not only did he get wrecked at Richmond to cost him 5 playoff points, Dylan has the wheel come off, and that allows Reddick to take tires and drive through the field with the winning strategy. Oof.
So what I'm hearing from you is, if I'm Austin Dillon, I probably shouldn't expect a Christmas card from Joey Logano. That fruit basket that shows up every holiday season, probably not coming this year.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect to go ride ATVs or whatever with Joey around his property. But yeah, that's. And also, by the way, I think Logano's mad enough about the Richmond thing and missing that we will see some revenge at some point. I think that's
come Martinsville, like payback. He's got nothing to lose, really, right?
He does though, but he made it on Joey Logano.
He made it on order points.
Made it on order points. So,
and that's the big thing too. Like that's where the money is paid. Like every car owner will tell you, that is the driver championship is great and that gets all the attention. But what you get paid out on is the owner points, and that matters. And the 45 of Tyler Reddick did not qualify for the owner's points, which is notable. We're talking about regular season, points, that kind of thing. I think if we're going to mention this, I think it's worth mentioning about Tyler Reddick too. He won the regular season championship and he got 15 bonus points. The difference between finishing first and second was 5 points. So, that also was a swing. And you look at all of the moments, and this is why I always say about this format. And I understand your criticism about the playoff. This isn't really about the playoff, but I'm talking about the regular season itself. It matters. People can it really doesn't matter. You just get hot. No, what you do during the regular season carries over, and it helps you so much. Every little point, every bonus point and win in regular season standings, that helps you so much because so many times you've got to fall back on what you did in those extra points. And Tyler Reddick today is a perfect example of that because without the regular season championship, he is bounced today.
It's there's a lot of when you look at the storylines through all this. Another storyline is the winner himself, Kyle Larson, right? Kyle Larson misses, and you talked about the regular season championship, how that happened, right? Well, Tyler Reddick won the regular season championship because essentially, as you pointed out, happily, many times, Larson didn't show up for the Coke 600.
He was busy.
So his team, Larson's team, won the regular season championship. So that was 5 less points for Reddick. Reddick, obviously, as we mentioned, wins the driver's regular season championship, but those 5 points end up costing him because he didn't win that, and Larson did. So that's why that's the difference of the 22. But also on the topic of Larson, it's gone a positive way for Larson in that you could look at, okay, Larson, the Brickyard 400, he comes back to the Brickyard. And that was his first time there since being rushed away from Indy that day to try to make it, even though he had already missed, the start of the 600. He wasn't going to make it, but he was still going to try to get in the car anyway. And he wins the Brickyard 400. Now he comes back to Charlotte where he has all the bad memories. You were there that night.
Oh yeah. He was angry.
He was pissed, right?
Oh yeah. Pissed is a good word.
Now he leaves here happy.
Yeah.
So, it's like, it's some, I don't know what the term is, but, and, in the post race, he got asked about it and said he didn't really care or think about it. But certainly looking back, you could say, well, these 2 places where you had ill feelings have been completely erased.
Revenge tour.
Doesn't matter anymore. Right. Yeah. I mean,
no, to me, I want to talk about Kyle Larson is I said this after Bristol and I'm going to say it again. Like when this team is on, when they don't make mistakes, when they aren't having issues, they are so good. They are so, and good isn't even the right word. Like great. They are so great. And it doesn't matter the track, whether it's a 1.5 miles, a 2.5 mile flat track like Indy, a Roval, whatever whatever this Frankenstein type track is. They're just so good everywhere. They have speed. They rarely have an off race where they just are out to lunch. It's like, oh my God, they're going to finish 20th today because they suck. Like, no, if they finish 20th, it's usually because they were involved in some kind of accident or, some kind of mechanical failure or what. Like, to me, they are just so, so good. And I remember after Bristol, we had the conversation and I was like, man, like I could see Kyle Larson just going on a run here. And, I don't know if he would have won Kansas. I certainly think he would have been a factor at Kansas. Talladega's Talladega, but he wins here. And then you look at these rest of these races and it's like, if this team doesn't shoot itself in the foot, which they have, and they do a lot, I just think they're going to be so hard to beat. And even with as deep of as a field I think there is in this round, and I could, I feel like you could really make a legitimate case for 5 or 6 of these guys to win the championship. And I really, really like Denny Hamlin. I really, really like Denny Hamlin to win the championship. Larson just is so on that level of like, man, if they're clicking, they're clicking. And that's scary to me.
Why are you so high on Hamlin to win the championship?
I don't know. I look at these next 3 races. They survived the chaos of the last 2 rounds with all of these tracks that are unwieldy and circumstantial in some cases. And these next 3 tracks, fairly straightforward, right? Las Vegas is a traditional 1.5-mile racetrack. They go to Homestead, then they go to Martinsville. Like, he's great at all 3 of those tracks. Like, legit, very, very, very good. And they have speed, and they don't have to worry about, drafting strategy or anything like that. They don't have to worry about navigating a road course, which Denny will tell you is not his forte, and he had to do it in the last 2 rounds. Like, there's none of that. This is just a straight. Yeah, I asked him that question after the race, and he's like, listen, I come from an old short track, oval track background. I'm not a road racer. I'm not like, now we're just going to my bread and butter track. And I think this team is going to be on kill mode after getting everything they got through at Talladega and Atlanta and Watkins Glen and even today, because today started off bad for them and they had to overcome that. I just think they are going to be on attack mode, and they recognize like these are 3 our prime tracks. Like, we just don't need to go there and run top. We can go there and legit win. And I think that's going to be, I think they're going to win one of the next 3.
Wow. Okay. I mean, certainly it's possible. They certainly have the speed. But give me then your final 4 right now. My final 4 has not changed from before the playoffs.
Really?
I have
Okay.
Larson, I have Reddick, I have Bell, and I have Blaney, and I have Bell winning, as I've been saying all along, because of Bell, his prowess on those type of tracks. Phoenix will be decided on. That is my pick. And as I've said since before the season, even on Denny's podcast, when he had us on to announce that we were coming over to Dirty Mo and all that stuff, I said, I'm not picking Denny to win the championship. I'm not even picking him to make the Final 4 because something always happens to him. Now, in this case, he's actually had many opportunities to have the piano fall out of the sky, and he's still there. He's actually having sort of good fortune through these first 2 rounds. So maybe it's this year, but I'm certainly not going to start picking him now at this point. I understand why you think it's a good pick, and I don't disagree with you, but I just have seen this story too many times to go, but
I totally get it.
So who's your final 4?
I love the Bell pick. I think we just don't talk about Bell a lot just because it's just quietly goes about his business. But again, everything I just said about Hamlin, I feel like you could say about Bell. Like, 3 great tracks, we know what he can do. My final 4, Bell, Larson, Hamlin, Blaney. Bowman is like a little too Cinderella for me. Like, I think they have to they're doing great. They're consistently running in the top 10. They're getting stage points, and that's great, but you got to win. You got to lead laps. You got to win stages. I just looked it up, by the way, about Chase Elliott. He's led 1 lap in the playoffs. 1 lap. Wow. That's not good enough for me. So that's, there. And Reddick, the speed just hasn't been there for them like lately. And maybe it's because of where, it's been a weird playoff and it's hard to kind of build up momentum, but the speed and the performance isn't quite to the level you want to see it at. I asked Billy Scott after the race, his crew chief, I said, how you feel about this? He's like, I'm excited, man. These are 3 bread and butter tracks for us. Though they feel like their mojo and that what they had is going to come back as you kind of go to the more traditional tracks. But I'm a little skeptical. So I'm just going to go with Bell, Hamlin, Larson, and then Blaney. Blaney continues to run well. They have intermediate track speed. We know what he can do at Martinsville. We know it, and if you can get to Phoenix, by the way, like that's a whole different conversation down the road. But those are my 4.
Reddick, to your point, it's so interesting because here's a guy who, for a lot of the season, he had the most top 10s. He's now 2nd in top 10s. He's 1 off the lead, but he has not had a top 10 since Atlanta, the opening race of the playoffs. He's gone since he finished 6th at Atlanta. He's then gone 27th, 20th, 25th, 20th, 11th. And it took a monumental effort to get up to 11th
Yeah.
After his incident today. So, yeah, they don't seem to have a ton of momentum right
No.
now for sure, but you feel like the speed could be there. I'm just not going to drop him out of my playoffs at this point, just
Fair.
because,
Fair.
I mean, he can go to Homestead. Look how good he is at
Oh,
Homestead, right? So
absolutely. Absolutely. One driver we didn't mention, William Byron.
yeah,
And
yeah.
we're probably short
Point
shrifting him
leader
a little.
this round, by the way.
And by the way, last 3 races, we talked about how this team is like, kind of been out to lunch a little bit sometimes. Second, third. Like, and I know, well, you got a Roval in there and you got
Wow,
Talladega.
that's a good round. Yeah.
That's a really and they're leading laps. Like they're doing the things that they were doing at the beginning of the year. And I'm sitting here talking about, I'm like, man, like I feel like we should put Byron in that category too, because he's won at Las Vegas. He's won at Homestead. By the way, he won the spring at Martinsville.
Yeah.
I feel like I keep saying this, bro. I feel like legitimately you can make a case for 5 or 6 of these guys. It's going to be. I am really excited to watch the next 3 races play out, because I think it's going to push these guys to a level we haven't seen before, and that to me is the beauty of this playoff.
Yep, I hear you. Well, let's talk about our key moment of the race before we go too much further from this race, because I think it was a pretty obvious one. Maybe we'll even agree. I don't know. But the key decision of the race, this segment's sponsored by Safety Culture, the workplace operations platform giving teams what they need to get the job done quicker and improve every day. Safety Culture, a better way of working. And again, as I hinted at, mine comes from the decision there, Billy Scott to call Reddick back down pit road and take those tires. They needed it to play out exactly how it did. He was able to come up through the field, pick his way through, get the positions that he needed to in a place that seemed like it was hard to pass. Made up, 15 spots over those laps. Even after the field got spread out, Reddick was still making up spots. An inspired drive, under control, didn't overdo it. Right, like we've seen Reddick in the past.
Well, he had one moment there where he kind of
with Hemrick. Right.
Speaking of gift baskets, he owes Daniel Hemrick a gift basket.
I'd say so. Yeah, but there you go. Right.
I agree, and if I had to pick a moment, I think I would pick that as well. It's the obvious one. Can I flip this on you and ask you a question on this? And this is just a hypothetical. In that situation, I think Reddick, and that's it. You've got nothing to lose. You have to make that call. If you're Joey Logano, and I understand you've got a pretty good sized buffer, is the key moment there in him not pitting? Because if you're Paul Wolf, do you say, hey, listen, we're going to try to stay. I know we've got a gap, but I don't want to put my driver on old tires, and you don't know how this is going to play out. Is it an idea if you're Paul Wolf to say, hey, I know I'm going to put my driver on the back, and who knows what's going to happen, but I'm going to give him fresh tires. We're still going to probably be ahead of Reddick because we're going to come down pit road a lot sooner than he is because of track position and everything. Is that maybe a moment there that, we need to talk about, and that, hey, sometimes the best offense is a defense. And in that moment, we're going to play defense and we're going to match Reddick. We're both going to be on even tires. We've had the better car today than him. And we're going to make him now on equal footing come and beat us. Whereas if by him not pitting, Reddick had the advantage. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I think Logano's strategy was sort of made because remember he had stayed out at the end of stage 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then we thought he was going to take the points and not flip a stage. And then he retained his track position. So they were just racing to get into their fuel window. And I think they were just going to take whatever. I understand what you're saying, but do you really want to give up the track position at that point and bury yourself in the field? We've seen what can happen on restarts.
I know.
So I don't. I think I take the risk, honestly, with forcing Reddick to try to gain 15 spots. I mean, that's really hard. I just think you just got to tip your cap to them and say,
agreed. They beat us. They did
yeah.
what they had to do when it mattered most. So I agree. And I think that's why that moment, to me, Reddick pitting was the key moment.
Yeah. And also, just understanding that they had to take the time to fix that damage and not try to stay out there and say, hey, let's try to ride it out. And I know they probably had pretty decent damage, right? After he collided with Hamlin, but they could have said, oh, we can't have you come in, but they said, oh, we got to come fix it. So, hey, you got to take your lumps, and it all worked out for them.
It did.
Well, safety culture is a workplace operations tool that gives teams what they need to get the job done quickly and improve every day. But what does that actually mean? Well, obviously, if you're part of a company, a business, a team, etc., efficiency is everything. No matter what you're trying to achieve, no one has time to waste. From construction sites to factory floors, safety culture is designed to drive improvements, not just in safety, but broadly across quality and efficiency too. It's all about meeting higher standards by bringing the whole team onto one page, all from their mobile device. We know that Trackhouse Racing is not only a sponsor on Shane Van Gisbergen's car, but they are a big believer in the Safety Culture app. They use Safety Culture's app to manage everything from in-house pre-race inspections on the car to assembly checks and even training, all on their very own operations platform. If you're a team leader, the Safety Culture app can help you get greater visibility across your whole operation so you can make confident decisions fast. If you work behind the scenes, Safety Culture can give you access to the knowledge and tools to ensure your success and help you make every second count. Are you ready to put your workplace in the pole position? Head to safetyculture.com/SVG. That's safetyculture.com/SVG. Jordan, speaking of SVG, he wins both polls, and it was setting up like, well, could he sweep the weekend? I guess it's just one of those things where it's harder, right? I mean, this is as good as he was, as talented as he is, it's still hard to just go out and win these races. You know what I mean?
You need a lot of things to work in your favor. Absolutely.
Yeah. So he and Allmendinger actually got the better of him today by one spot, but still they were coming on strong late. SVG had gotten spun by one at one point. I wonder if SVG feels like, man, I'm getting the full NASCAR experience here. He got eliminated in a tough way on Saturday. And, fast cars, he's so talented, but again, with all the cautions and strategy and all that stuff, you just got to put it all together, I suppose. And yeah, I don't know.
Again, a lot has to come your way. And it feels like he's kind of been used up, it feels like sometimes this year, right? Like, I don't want to say guys are taking advantage of him, but as he's adapting to the culture of stock car racing here in America, it's like, there's been moments where you're like, guys are really not hesitant to put a bumper to him and be aggressive around him. And I think for the most part, he's been, I really don't recall a moment where you're like, oh man, he's been real forceful here. I guess maybe Austin Hill at Sonoma, but that to me was more hard racing than anything. It wasn't like he used uphill or anything to that level. You kind of wonder if this is going to evolve a little bit. As he gets more acclimated to this and says, all right, I'm going to have to modify this, and now I'm going to have to stop being pushed around, and that's just how it is. But that's kind of the maturation process that any rookie driver goes through.
We talked about Logano not making the next round. We should also probably address the other three who are saying goodbye to the playoffs. Austin Cindric, despite an inspired drive, 4th place finish, really good run for him. Just not enough points to get really even close. Misses it by a decent amount. Daniel Suarez as well. He had problems and just could never get it going today. And then Briscoe had a mechanical failure, but the SHR cars seemed off in general this weekend. So none of those ever really made a serious run at it. I mean, it could have been, maybe if Cindric was able to get up there and win, but it didn't seem like he was going to be able to do that. He never led a lap or anything. So any takeaways from those three saying goodbye to?
Yeah, I mean, the Briscoe's team didn't feel like they really showed up this round. I mean, they 24th at Kansas, 30th at Talladega, 37th at the Roval. I know some of that's situational. Talladega, they got caught up in the big one today. They had some issues as well, but it feels like they could have done better than this, and it's a missed opportunity. The really big one for me, the missed opportunity, is Austin Cindric. You look at Austin Cindric and what he did, and I think Talladega is going to loom large because he was running in the top 5 in a really good spot on a style track that he's had a lot of success on, and just kind of got victimized there at the end of getting used up and getting caught up in a wreck, and that was it. And then you come here in the situation you're in, and he admirably did a good job, but fourth isn't going to get you overcome that points hole, and you never had a shot. So I feel like the path was there for him, and it just didn't take advantage of it to the degree that he needed to.
Yeah, maybe if there'd been more chaos, more people falling out from up above, but it was, again, you gotta hand it to the Cup guys, really, because this course was basically changed, it felt like, to have more craziness, more crashes, more dive bombs, all that stuff. This is a professional, for the most part, a professional drive from the Cup field, wouldn't you say?
100%. They put on a good show. Like, you can argue about the quality of the race and whether it was most entertaining, but that's not the point. Professionally, they did on a very challenging track designed to push them to their limits and probably beyond and make them uncomfortable. They didn't have any issues, really. I mean, there was some backup in turn 7 there, but that's just going to happen. You didn't see any of the restarts weren't a mess. They were handled well. You didn't have any issues really in the chicane to the degree that you saw in the Xfinity Series race. There was, Chastain and the legacy cars all got together, but that's going to happen. I tip my cats to these guys. This was a great, they did a very professional job in a set of circumstances that was pushing them to be anything but that today.
You talked about the quality of the race, so let's talk about it with the good race poll. Last week you were dunking on me for guessing
I was going to win
low, and
I thought I was going to win.
I thought you were too. I thought I went too low, and it was even lower than I thought. Yeah. So I am up 4-2 in the good race poll now. You got to. You're starting to be on. At this
point. So someone came up to me with a tweet up today, a woman named Karen, and she's like an event planner, and she works at like a winery or something, and she like volunteers. She's like, hey, if you need me to come to Daytona, I will come down there and I will help you out and, work with you and everything. I'm like, I may need you actually. So I'm starting to recruit people for my my army here of Lemonade Stand.
You're already giving up?
No, not giving up. Contingency plan. You always have a backup plan, right? And then, so it's a contingency plan in case I lose this. I've got people that are volunteered to be my mascot. I talked to someone about T-shirts. Karen, the entertainment event planner, is going to help me maybe a little bit here. So, we'll see. And I will say, someone had a very inspired idea at the tweet up today too. Like, hey, we work for Dirty Mo Media. Our boss happens to own a vodka brand. Maybe, if you want a spiked lemonade, then we might be able to help you out.
Yeah, I don't know about that because I think we have to sell only what is available in the Daytona fan zone.
They don't sell at Daytona? I don't know.
What I'm saying is we have to go through the Daytona catering service or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just throwing it out there. We'll see.
Okay.
So yeah, not giving up.
Also, I don't think you have you don't have an alcohol license. The state of Florida.
I'm not selling though. I'm not selling. I am just giving it to a friend who is over 21.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sure that'll fly.
I'm not giving it to a minor. I'm not breaking laws here.
Okay. My magic number is 2. So all I need to do is win 2 of these next 5. Otherwise, it'd be a colossal choke on my part. So I do have to go first here. And it's tough, right? Because you have these situations where I think like the points race with Reddick coming through, that made the race interesting and compelling toward the end. But was it a good race overall with Larson kind of dominating? And it was all right, I guess. I just don't think it's going to be spectacular or something. So I'll say 64. Is that too low?
I think it's too high.
Uh-oh. Really?
Yeah. I think people are over the Roval.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's my opinion. The sense I got, I feel like people are kind of over the Roval, and it's not in its way, especially when you compare the Roval to the Oval here at Charlotte. It's not even a case, right? I mean, I don't think anyone's going to argue that this is a better entertainment product on the Roval versus what you'd see each May here on the Oval. And I think knowing that and seeing that, I would go lower than that. I'm going to say 62 because it's like it or not. I think people were expecting, excuse me, I think people were expecting a little bit more drama and theatrics and, chaos, and they were anticipating that. And while we did get the drama part of it, we didn't get the other part of it. And so I think that'll ding it as well. The winner really wasn't in doubt. It felt like once Larson kind of took the lead there late, it was that. I mean, Reddick's drive was epic, but I don't know if enough people are going to get behind that to push this into, some kind of big number or anything like that. So I'm going to say 62.
Oh man. That's okay.
What?
Right.
I left you a little wiggle room.
Price is right, you.
I didn't price. What'd you said? 64, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't price is right. You. I went 62.
I mean,
I left you wiggle room. No.
Did.
No. Oh my God.
All right. Anyway, that's fine.
Exhausting.
That's fine. Hey, I got to earn it. Yeah. That's fine. It's fine. But on that note, obviously, I think it goes without saying, but I should repeat it here that I'm very pro oval. I wish this race was not on the Roval. For what it was, for what we expected, it was fine. But imagine how hyped this race would have been if it had been on the Charlotte Oval, which this track with this car performs clearly the best on intermediate tracks. And we're trying to make this Frankenstein road course that has now had plastic surgery, continue to be a thing when I think most people want to see it on the Oval. So they're so determined to keep this on the Roval, and it's going to be again next season. But I'm like, dang, man, we didn't even get to see the full Charlotte 600 race this year. I'd love to see, you could even make it 500 miles. I would still love it in the fall. And maybe make it a true playoff race. Who cares if you have a lot of 1.5 mile tracks, and Homestead's coming out next year of the playoffs, so you're going to have one less intermediate, right? And you're putting in Gateway and New Hampshire and stuff. Yeah, I know you don't have a road course then, but come on, to give us the Oval. The Oval's so much better. Seriously.
You get no argument from me. And I will say this too. If this was an Oval race, unlike the May race, this would be run entirely in the daylight. And that would also add an element to this too, because the track's going to be hot, probably going to be slick. I really think you're going to really push guys to another level and make them uncomfortable a little bit, kind of like what we see at Kansas, right, where the track is slick and cars are hard to control. And we see that in May here, but it's cooler. There's a little bit more grip, that kind of thing. And a race here on the Oval under the sun, it's 80 degrees today. I think you would get a whale of a show. And I'm kind of over the Roval. I'm not opposed to. I want to see a road course in the playoffs, but I don't need that road course to be here at Charlotte. I would like to see the Oval back. I think if we talk about entertainment value, and we talk about that so much, and what is going to give you the most eyeballs and attention and excitement and everything like that, to me, it's no question. It would be the Oval. Figure out a different road course to put in the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm with you, but also, Jordan, I think if if it had been on the Oval, there's a chance that a car being stuffed into the tire barriers probably would have been noticed faster during the Xfinity race than it was on Saturday.
Did that happen? I didn't see it. All I know is that Parker Kligerman won that race.
He did?
Yeah, in my mind, he won that race. I tweeted it out. It's a fact. I tweeted it out. He won the race.
You tweeted it out? I missed that.
Yeah, tweeted it out. Still up. Haven't deleted it.
Did you delete it?
Nope, still up.
Really? Oh,
yeah.
I totally missed that in all the craziness. Well, that was certainly a thing.
That was the thing.
So I think we've both talked to NASCAR separately. So why don't we, I guess, approach this by sharing what their perspective is, and then we can weigh in on what we think could be done differently, or what we think our takes are. Is that a fair way to
Sure
do it?
Sure.
All right. Do you want to start or do you want me to start?
No, please, you go ahead.
So obviously NASCAR has a race director. They have a bunch of people up in the tower. They have, all sorts of people watching the race, but the race director is the one with his hand on the button, right? So the race director was Jusan Hamilton, and was told that he officiates the Roval race in particular by looking out he's watching the track, right? He's looking out the window. So although it was on TV for 15 seconds, right? It was 15 seconds when TV showed it and when the caution was called. The point that NASCAR is making is he's not looking at TV, and they say, well, I noted, well, fans are saying that it was on the big screen, second largest
I heard that
HD screen or whatever. And I was told, but he can't be watching that big screen either during the race. Sometimes the big screen is showing replays of something, which to that point, there's been times in the media center when people go, "Oh yeah,
I did that once. I felt like an idiot."
But it's the at track screen showing a replay from a crash from another race.
Yeah.
So there's that point. Now, we have some breaking news. We have to stop this. We have to stop this conversation right now. This is breaking news. This is actual news that just happened. I'm not kidding. Alex Bowman has just been disqualified from the race. Our chat has been on this. They have been on the YouTube chat. They've been talking about this since the potential start of this show, but we have not had that confirmed, so we did not want to talk about it yet. Alex Bowman is out of the playoffs. Alex Bowman has been eliminated from the playoffs. He failed post-race weight requirements. So he loses all of his points from this race. He gets last place points. Joey Logano is in. So Hendrick does not have all four cars make it. Bowman has been eliminated. Your reaction?
Well, I said Joey Logano was going to win the championship, and I'm just riding that freight train. So here we go.
You're back on the bandwagon.
Back on the bandwagon. We're back, baby. The 22 freight train is fired back up. We're going to Phoenix. This is what I say. Every other year, Joey Logano makes a championship 4. You cannot deny it. Even the racing gods are pulling for Logano. Wow. What a swing. Because Bowman has been great. The team has been great. I asked Rick Hendrick after the race, what have you seen out of Alex Bowman in this team in this playoffs? He's like, hey, he's healthy. He's, it takes, you hear this when drivers had that back injury, it takes them about a year and a half or so to kind of get their mojo back, and like new crew chief, then it took them a while, and it felt like this team was pointing in the right direction. And then this is huge. This is giant. I am flabbergasted.
And post-race weight, that is not something you hear very often. They did not meet minimum weight, so they had a light car. You would think that would be a mistake of some kind, right? Because you're going to get inspected and weighed.
Yeah, they do all the playoff cars. Yep, they do all and they inspect every playoff car, and then all of the bubble cars are obviously, so Logano goes through that and he cleared. There's something that happened here along the way. Either they snuck one through the inspectors or something happened to the car that, I don't know. It's fascinating. The appeal, by the way, will be this week if they do appeal, which I would expect them to appeal. So,
I mean, I guess they got nothing to lose.
Why not, right?
Yeah.
And it's funny too, because all 4 Hendrick cars had made it to the round of 8, and the conversation after the race was, Rick, do you feel like you could get all 4 drivers there? Now, that's never happened before. The most is 3 by Gibbs in 2019. But and Hendrick has never had 3 drivers in the final 4 before, I don't think. I think their record's only 2. And there was a lot of conversation about this of like, hey, could you do this? And that was something that it was kind of a goal for them to do that. And now you're losing Bowman. It's unfortunate for him because all of the speculation that he's been, around his job status, and it was like he came out and he's answered the bell, and now it's all for naught.
Well, Austin Dillon, you're off the hook.
You know what? He gets a fruit basket, baby.
He's back on Joey Logano's Christmas card list.
He's getting a fruit basket.
And
do we
also,
have anything?
Wait. Let me think about this before. I'm not very good at math. Doesn't this mean? Well, yeah, this would mean that Reddick would be back an owner.
Yeah, Reddick was only missed it by like 5 points. So presuming that the penalty that Bowman would, I would presume without doing the math in my head that Reddick will be into the round of 8 or the owners championship. Excuse me.
Yes. Wow. What a it's just
that is just like Bowman luck, right? Like think about this. A couple years ago, leading the championship, then he gets that big penalty, right? Not of his doing, but they went through that whole circus with the penalties. And it's like, and then he's having a really good year. Has the best average finish. He's got all his like high profile teammates, but he's outrunning them all. He's got the best average finish, leading the point standings. It's like, great. Got a new crew chief. And it's like, man, this is good. Then he gets hurt. It's just like, that is just like, I called Denny Hamlin NASCAR's version of Charlie Brown last week when something I wrote, and I honestly that was a mistake. I probably should have saved that for Alex Bowman. He is NASCAR's Charlie Brown.
Wow, that's pretty. That's a bad way to go right there.
That's
a
tough
bad
beat.
way to get eliminated from.
That is a tough beat.
Wow.
Well,
I mean, I'm. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Logano comes back to make the Final Four, win the championship now.
Never doubted it.
Yeah.
Never doubted it. I knew it.
My goodness.
Told you. Every other year, baby. Every other year.
Thing is still alive.
Yeah, and
well, we'll see. Let's see if it is an appeal. We'll see what happens. But
I'm going to be a broken record, and you're going to laugh at me, but if we're talking about the depth of this Final Four, I will say, like, I think Logano, I feel more confident Logano winning the championship than I do Alex Bowman, if that makes sense. And
done it twice before, but yeah.
Yeah, no, but I mean, but it's still, I'm basing it solely on performance this year, or what I've seen, lately. And I stand by this. I like what I've seen out of this team. We'll see. It'll be interesting.
So I take back what I said about all the drivers who are the top 8 in points, in season long points, and the top 10 guys making the next round, because that's not the case anymore. However, this round does now feature, let's see, there's been 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's been 7 drivers who have won at least multiple races this year, and they're all in. The one that hasn't, Chase Elliott's only won 1 race, and he's in. But all 7 drivers who won multiple races, plus Chase Elliott, have advanced to the final 8. So it's still a strong field.
And Elliott's got the best average finish of anyone. So,
okay, there you go.
That's pretty stellar.
Let's go back to the start of our podcast where we were talking about what a strong group this is. Hey, at least at the start of the podcast, we did say, well, I mean, maybe except for Bowman, he deserved it. He deserved it. He had a good playoffs, but that's a bad way to go out, because he didn't. Not his fault at all.
Bowman luck, man. Bowman luck.
That's wild.
It is absolutely.
I'm going to be interested to see fallout from this, because what happened? Yeah, I mean, Bowman scored, according to Trey Ryan. Before this penalty, Bowman had scored the 4th most points in this round, so he had a great round. He
won a stage today too.
Bowman had this round before this DQ. Bowman only had 2 less points than Larson this round, and 10 less points than Bell. So aside from Byron going with a podium sweep of the round, I mean, Bowman was right up there with the best of the guys, and now he's gone. So, Yeah, that just happened.
It did. And this isn't NASCAR's fault. I want to make sure I'm very, very clear on this.
NASCAR's fault.
No, I said this is not NASCAR's fault.
Okay. But
They didn't do anything wrong. Just
who said NASCAR did something wrong? What? Okay, go ahead.
It's going to get kind of lumped in is what I'm saying. Let me just finish. And again, we're having a conversation about something off of the racetrack, instead of just something on the racetrack. Bristol, it was the tires. Kansas, it was the Josh Berry towing thing. It was more towing DVP policy stuff last week. This week, obviously, was the Xfinity Series race. I don't know how that finished. And then now you've got a disqualification for a guy who was seemingly into your semifinal round and is now out. And it's just, you would like to focus at this time of year. By the way, there's a federal lawsuit against the sanctioning body. You would like to see, ideally, you'd like to see the focus on what's going on in the competition. And this is another week. And again, this is not NASCAR's fault. Because the other stuff the blame maybe falls on their shoulders there. But this is just unfortunate. Another example of can we just have a playoff where it's about what's happening on the racetrack?
Well, if I can transition back into what we were talking about earlier, Jordan, it was a bad week to be the 48 car.
Not bad. That was well done, sir. Well done.
Because Parker Kligerman, also in the Xfinity race,
he won the race.
So he won, sure. So listen, I was explaining earlier about how the race director here in the Charlotte race, he's looking out the window and he's not watching the monitors. He's not seeing what TV sees. Now there is somebody, the TV monitor is being played in the NASCAR scoring tower, I'm told, but the person who's watching that has to then tell the race director, and then the race director has to verify this, right, for themselves, and then decide to call the caution. So it was 15 seconds. And I'm not sure when this was brought to his attention or if it was brought to his attention or whatever it was, if it was just missed, but obviously that took a long time. NASCAR is adamant that when the caution was called, there was not hey, let's call it before, Kligerman takes the white here. He's right here. We got to call it right now. NASCAR's explanation of what happened was they hear about this or they see it or whatever, and they see it late. And when they see a car buried in the tire barriers, they press the button. Just so happened to be, unfortunately for everybody, at that moment,
blink of an eye too soon.
Right when he was, and so you feel sick for Parker Kligerman. That was clearly a caution because you have to. That was clearly a safety thing, right? But they could have just called it 10 seconds earlier. Would have said, okay, that sucks for Kligerman, but it's a caution. The fact that they called it so close is what's a hard thing.
This is a process issue. It's not a debate of whether this was a caution. It's unequivocally a caution, but it's the process and how you get there to call the caution is the issue. And that's where you're like, either call that thing sooner or, as we've seen other times, let the leader get to the white, see if, give them, especially on a road course, you got a little bit more of an opportunity to kind of, see if you can race there or whatever, give them a couple corners and then flip the light. We saw it at Indy this year, right? When the car was stopped in turn 2, they kind of let them go into one almost. And then I was like, nope, we're going to back them down here. That's what you would have liked to seen, or call the damn thing sooner. And it's just, again, it's another week. We're sitting here talking about officiating, and that is frustrating.
Listen, we don't want to just complain. We would like to offer some solutions. So what are some ways that this cannot happen? Because this really can't happen, right? We can't be sitting at home seeing something on TV and everybody's screaming. I mean, Parker Kligerman's radio screaming, get to the line, get to the line, get to the line, because they wanted him to take the white flag because they knew there was a car in the barriers. NASCAR somehow didn't know this, didn't see this. And this isn't the first time that NASCAR has missed something like that, right? So what can be done here, Jordan? Is it need to be better technology? Is it need to be, because I was told that they did not have a spotter.
I
in
asked that question too. Yeah, no spotter and no like camera specific, camera specifically in that area. That to me would be the sensible thing of like, hey, you need spotters. You need to have somebody in every corner who has direct contact with the tower saying, hey, guys, we got a car stuffed in the barrier here. That car is not getting out. This is a caution. And they can relay that directly to, that would seem to be the most streamlined thing to do that. But I don't know the layout here and if there's like a position for a spotter to be, because of how tight the confines are here and there's not, but figure it out. Just figure out a way.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think that if you're going to have a road course, especially, where it's hard to see everything from the tower. And look, most road courses, they're looking at monitors for the most part. Right? Like at Coda, I don't think they look out the window at all. They're just looking at pure monitors the whole time. I get you can look out a monitor or out the window here because you could look at the whole track for the most part, but then have spotters in every single corner again to make sure you're not going to miss anything, because it looks really, 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 really bad the way things unfolded. And they're saying that it was a horrible coincidence essentially. But it looked just like a total fail, and it looked intentional, like they were just trying to, no, we don't want to, we got to go to overtime or whatever. And they're saying that that's not true. And that's not the case. I wish I'm sure NASCAR all week was saying to themselves, we can't be the story. We can't be the story. Let's not be the story. Let's not the officiating be the story. Right. And they came out, they talked to crew chiefs and they said, hey, like, we're going to officiate the towing like it was for Talladega, all that stuff. Right. Like, and we're going to stay out of the way a little bit more going forward. It felt like, and then this Kligerman thing happens and you're like, dude, that's rough. That's really rough. And by the way, you just feel for Kligerman in general.
That was what I was going to say, is I really feel bad for Kligerman. Parker's a good dude, worked really hard for these opportunities. Effectively, his full-time driving days are ending at the end of this year. He's very adamant about that. He's going to transition full-time into broadcasting. He's going to still race a little bit here and there, but really focus on the broadcasting part of it. And he's never won an Xfinity Series race. That was certainly on his list of things he wanted to accomplish. And a great drive from him too. Like, just in a race you had to win to move on. You do all the right things, and it just falls short. And I thought he handled it so well.
How classy was this whole? Yeah,
just everything. Like, he gets out of the race car, and he takes off the helmet and the safety harness, and you're like, I would have chucked the damn thing, like slammed it down in the car, just thrown it, and like stormed away or whatever, and just handled it so well. Like total pro, man. So I feel bad for him.
All right. Well, anything else from this week that you want to talk about, or
no? Hang on one second here.
So we put the car to the side. We continue on.
Bro, I'm listening to Brad Moran.
Moran. All right, yeah, go ahead and play it. Brad Moran just met with reporters about the Bowman.
Never mind that. We give them the opportunity to fuel the car, as well as purge the water system and add water. So we give them every opportunity to make minimum weight. We run them back through. Unfortunately, they were light again.
They were light.
They are allowed a 5%, a 5% weight break, which is for usage of fluids and so on. That's about 17 pounds. We backed the car back off the scales, run it back on, and then unfortunately it was the same weight.
Okay, so they go through the process multiple times. Summarizing here, give the opportunity multiple times to kind of make sure that their measurements are accurate, put fuel in the car, do the necessary things, and they did not meet minimum weight multiple times. So we'll see.
Yeah, and again, it'll be interesting to hear the Hendrick explanation.
That's
why would this be? Because again, this is a very rare thing.
Very rare.
I haven't heard underweight cars in a while.
No, very curious to hear Hendrick's explanation. Trying to think if Bowman. I don't think Bowman was involved in anything today on the track.
Well, the only thing was, remember, he like jumped one of the first.
That's right.
Really
yes,
early.
and he came
He
down
like got completely airborne.
Airborne.
coming
That
out
was
of
a
the top
hell of a
game.
moment too. Like, and he almost banged off the wall too. Which if that would have been bad. You're right. Like he did in all four wheels. He's kind of
All four
slammed
wheels
down,
were off the ground. So
and he
is it
slammed
something that
hard.
could that have knocked something? Now you would have thought, okay, if that
It's
knocked
going to be
something
on the
off
track.
car, yeah, it would be on the track. So you would think, right?
You would think.
So again, we don't know enough to speculate right now, but
That's never stopped us before.
Damage,
Yeah.
By the way, Dustin Long tweeted to clarify, it needs to be 0.5% of the starting weight of the race. The clip you played there said 5% of the starting weight. Brad Moran meant to say 0.5% of the starting weight at the race. So it's got to be very close to the starting weight minus a few fluids. And this clearly was out of bounds. So, this is something Bowman's certainly familiar. Anybody in dirt racing, as soon as you come off the track, you go straight to the scales, right? And if you don't go to the scales in dirt racing, you're automatically DQ'd. And if you're underweight, you're DQ'd. So, this is, I doubt this would be intentional, just because you would think that they knew they were going to go through inspection, and they didn't need to win this race. It wasn't like they were in the Chase Briscoe position where throwing a Hail Mary. But something must have happened, and
Bowman luck.
All right. Well, everybody, that's what we know for now. Vegas next week, then Homestead, Martinsville, and Phoenix to wrap it all up.
It'll be fun.
We appreciate you as always for listening, and we will talk to you next time on the Teardown. See you, everybody.